And I gotta find a better solution. Maybe my audio is gonna be crap one day. I should get like I really should get a better mic or a high quality mic or something
I
like
mean,
that.
the mic you have is fine. I'm able to work with that.
Oh yeah, no, it's
I
not
just
that it's not fine.
maximize your volume on Discord, and you're fine.
Oh yeah, no, it's not that. It's just the fact that I feel like I really should like find a higher quality mic or something like that, or a standing mic or something. That way, I'm like actually have good audio quality for our dear audience here. And because fun fact, I do actually listen to some of our videos back sometimes. Not all of it, because it is an hour long in some cases. But
The majority of them are an
I
hour
do
long.
watch our stuff back, and it's like,
Yes.
Also, you are somewhat low for me on my end. I should have mentioned that actually.
You should have fixed that for yourself.
I have been trying to, but all my settings are matched out. I was actually trying to fix
Okay,
that.
well, allow me to help you. Go over to Discord, click on my icon on the call.
Ah, yes, I
then
could just use user volume. I forgot that exists.
There you go.
I keep forgetting that button exists. Thank you. Regardless, so technical difficulties aside, hello, welcome. Actually, screw the intro. We're just gonna can the intro. You
Off
had
we
your
go.
intro complaining about. You had your intro with me complaining about potential audio problems. So, hello again. We had one anyway. If this remarkable video, this is the part where I'd yell
Hello,
at
everybody.
roll it back, but I don't have Lixney, and I have Justin. So Justin, roll it back. Just.
Hello.
But anyways, hello. So last week we decided we would talk about, after the stream, we kind of had this in plan. And we were going to talk about the resurgence of Cyberpunk 2077. Never thought I'd be talking about CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077 in this light ever, but stranger things have happened, I suppose. And so here we are. Again, this is kind of continuing the trend with us being a slightly behind the times, as everyone's already covered the resurgence of Cyberpunk 2077 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago at this point in some cases. Back when the anime, we'll get to that, came out and boosted the game's popularity through the ceiling, rightfully so, but anyways. So yeah, again, we are a bit late to the party, though to compensate for this lateness, I have decided to tack on a subtopic. Well, maybe primary topic with it. You can decide which of these topics is the subtopic for yourself. Let's call them a conjoined video, eh? And that is to do with something amusing.
Conjoined twins? No, conjoined videos.
Yes, they were popped out into the world at the same time. Could not use surgery to separate them.
No.
It was just left as is. It's like the one Siamese twin from the Simpson movie. Anyone knows that old reference?
Yes.
Anyways. So. Anyways, like I said, we'll get to that. But the other topic for today is also the fact that today, like literally 12 hours ago, if I remember correctly, CDPR released a massive investor video as well as marketing video as well as a bunch of other types of video. But it is only one video, so if you're confused, forgive me. That's just me being poor at explaining a video to you. Link in the description, by the way. That basically summarizes CDPR's plans for both the foreseeable and somewhat distant and admittedly distant future when it comes to the studio, their games, what they plan to do, sequels. We know they're working on a sequel to The Witcher 3 for a long time now. Turns out that project has very much extended beyond one game alone, but again, we'll get to that. As well as, spoiler alert, turns out Cyberpunk actually has done officially at this point well enough that they're warranting a sequel. But again, we'll get to that. So that's officially in development. But again, all that juicy news, we'll get to that first. But first, primary topic or subtopic or side topic, you decide. CDPR, or should I say more specifically, Cyberpunk 2077's Resurrection. So, if you have been living under a rock for the past 2-3 years, can't blame you. COVID does that to people. Let me put it to you this way. Cyberpunk, the game that was promised to be the best thing since sliced bread, was essentially rolled off as most as DOA the minute it released, considering all the massive bugs and stuff like that. Fundamentally speaking, gameplay-wise, when it came, or not story-wise, I should say, there was nothing wrong with the story. Though people had their critiques, everyone does, but most people consider the story to be very good. But between the bugs, the gameplay problems, the somewhat broken economy if memory serves, as well as the ability to abuse the crafting system to essentially print money. The game was, between all of this and more, pulled off of store shelves when it came to even including the PlayStation Marketplace. Quite famously, kicked Cyberpunk off their storefront. Like, they forbid them from selling their game, which I have, in all my years of playing the games industry, never seen them actually kick a high-budget title, or any title for that matter, at least that I know of, off their store shelves once it's gotten on. So, yeah, it was a pretty big controversy to actually warrant a major company to literally pull the plug. And Xbox, I think, followed suit on this one, though I have to get that checked. I don't remember if Xbox also pulled the plug or if they let them sell anyways. I have to get that checked. But I do know PlayStation kicked them off their store shelves for quite a while, actually. It only came back, I think, last year. So that was an entire year they couldn't sell. But anyways, we'll get to that. But yeah, between all of that and more, and again, you can look at the glitch compilation videos online. I'm sure they are many and numerous. Or in the words of Morbo from Futurama, who I like to quote these days, belligerent and numerous, all over the internet. You can see the videos of early Cyberpunk 2077 days for yourself. Well, at least on PlayStation 4 it was. Yikes. Not good. I played the PS4 version on the PS5 that I recently gotten at the time. So I was able to play the game at its PS4 Pro state, which was far better, and now on its PS5 like enhanced edition state. So it's far better than the base PS4. And from what I'm told, even far better than the Xbox versions. But again, whole other kind of worms. But anyways, because of that, the game was more or less written off, regardless of how good the story was. Between, like I said, the broken economy, bugs, da 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 da, it was written off, and basically massive things happened. CDPR had their own investors sue them over apparently lost profits and false promises, which, truth be told, did happen, though it is kind of the pot calling the kettle black, because if you look into the story, it was actually the investors who also were the ones primarily forcing the game out the door prematurely, which led it into the massive mess that it was. So, you know, like I said, the investors turning around and suing them over lost profits feels like, you know, the pot calling the kettle black here. But anyways, so all of that happened. Cyberpunk was more or less forgotten about, except for its core fan base. But CDPR swore they would stick with the game, fix it, get it running, yada yada yada. There was a bunch of things that they promised to do when it came to what they planned for the future of the projects. Well, they didn't promise, they were hoping to do it, but they never did. For example, multiplayer, they were planning to make Cyberpunk into basically GTA Online. Truth be told, the groundwork was there for it. There was enough diversity in the world and stuff to warrant a base concept for that, but they scrapped it when the game turned out to be what it did, as well as a bunch of paid and free DLC, which kind of happened, kind of didn't, depending on who you ask. We're just recently getting that paid DLC in development recently for Cyberpunk, so not as much as they were hoping, but they are doing it. They were hoping for more than one, but like I said, because of the state of the game, they just ended up they're only doing one as far as we know. And the investor call didn't say anything about the game itself as far as the current game, so we still don't know. Though most people are assuming that it's only going to be one at this point. But you know, whatever. That doesn't mean Cyberpunk hasn't had major overhauls over the years. They've gone from 1.1 to, with the release of Edge Runners, the anime, 1.6, which has done a massive bunch of things. It's added new housing features, transmog, new weapons, literal crossover with the story in terms of actual like side stories you can find, bunch of stuff. So, predisposition aside, again, just in case you haven't figured out, just in case you hadn't heard about the issues with Cyberpunk, which, if you're frequenting the games industry, or at least know the games industry, it would be pretty impossible not to, but just to cover my bases here. That's the issues that were around Cyberpunk. Fast forward almost 2 years at this point later, and where were we? Well, where we are is that the game has recently crossed 20 million sales in terms of, you know, actual units sold. So, a lot better than the massive mess that it was. How the heck did that happen? And again, link to that VGC article in description. With also, apparently, Cyberpunk moving up to the top of Steam's top sales games list for 22 months after its release. So, like I said, almost 2 years later, they're finally at the top of the top sellers list. We'll go with top sellers list. But so you can kind of see the writing on the wall here. Cyberpunk is having a massive resurgence across the board. So my first question would be, why? After all, I just told you that the game was
Why?
DOA on 5. Yeah, why?
just why? Why would you do that?
Well, why is quite simple. The game had a new anime release. Now, this was actually planned from the beginning, actually, well before Cyberpunk became the mess that it was on release. They had planned with an anime studio known as Studio Trigger, who are quite famous in their own right for doing a lot of famous animes themselves, including Kill la Kill and I believe Darling in the Franxx, but I have to get a check on that one. I don't know Studio Trigger. Hold on, let me just check that right now. Did they do Darling in the Franxx? This is just me being informed at this point. I know they did Kill la Kill, which is a very good anime. Oldish anime from like 2016, something like that. But yeah, hold on. Let me just make sure. Oops. Wrong movie. Wrong thing. Yeah, no, Trigger. As well as A1 and a few others, but still. They partnered up with CDPR, the developers behind Cyberpunk, to make an anime based on the game. This was part of CDPR, like I said, hyping up the game. At the time, CDPR promised that, Cyberpunk would be the biggest thing in RPGs since sliced bread, and, everyone was buying into it hook, line, and sinker, myself included. So, the marketing was clearly working, and this anime was both an attempt at marketing as well as cross-promotion. So, this anime was promised, like I said, way back when the game first came out. But after the whole massive failures of the game, they kind of went underground. It did finally release, though, as of 3 weeks ago. And oh boy!
Oh my.
Indeed. Where the game did not deliver on arrival, the anime most certainly did, and then some. I think it's almost filled up the hype that Cyberpunk the game itself should have had and kind of went a few steps further. For those who don't know, it is a Netflix, I think. Yeah, no, it's a Netflix-based anime, so Netflix is the one behind it as well. Which means there's only about 10 episodes instead of your usual anime 12, but that's okay, because like I said, the show is really good. I myself have seen the whole thing, and at this point, it's becoming harder and harder to find someone who isn't. Well, my coworker here notwithstanding, I told him to review it for the sake of the show,
looked at the review. I looked at reviews.
Oh, he looked at the summary video. That's the equivalent of
Summary
me watching a
videos and reviews.
That's the equivalent of me watching a CinemaSins video and now saying I've seen the movie.
Yes. I'm not saying I've seen the whole thing. I'm just saying I know enough of what's going on.
Fine, but you're still watching it. That's still your homework. You're
It's
just
not
getting
really
an
homework. It's just an enjoyment at this point.
You're getting an extension on your homework. But anyways, the anime, like I said, was a smash hit. It was heralded across the board by both critics and anime watchers in general, like hardcore anime watchers, as being a wonderful show. And this is going into the increasing trend we're seeing of video game anime adaptations. Arcane, like I said, for League of Legends, sadly have not seen that, but I've also heard it was also very good. Was kind of, I think, one of the earlier ones to do it, and was a massive success, kind of proving that you could do anime video game adaptations. And ironically, Netflix also did Arcane, so maybe this is showing that they know what they're doing, at least in that field. Or at the very least, they're giving it to people who do. And interestingly enough, Arcane, despite how highly heralded it was, only received, I think, like a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 96 on Metacritic. Whereas Cyberpunk received a 98 on Metacritic, and I believe a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes.
So, you know.
Which, you know, so it basically is essentially saying it's beaten Arcane in terms of successful anime adaptation of a video game. And Arcane, like I said, apparently was really good. I have not seen it. Been planning to, but I have not seen it. Mostly because, you know, I just haven't got around to it, but also because I'm not really a League player, so the story wouldn't exactly resonate with me as much as, you know, Cyberpunk, which I have played extensively. But anyways. So yeah, because of the massive success of the anime, again, which I all recommend you watch, it is very good. Even the dub, like I said, the English dub, which sometimes actually suffers with anime, and it's much better in the native Japanese, which usually happens with anime, is not the case this time. Not saying the sub ain't bad, the sub is also very good, but the dub is also very good. Usually the sub is always good, and the dub is either good to questionable. This one is very good, so if you want to just watch in straight English, don't be afraid that you're going to lose some, like, great
You're not
voice
gonna
acting.
get mistranslation and stuff like that.
Well, mistranslations rarely happen in general, but usually you have, like, you know, the biggest issue with anime dubs is, like, for example, cheesy-ass voice acting. That can happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
So-
kind of what happens when you go and get some guy cheaply brought over and it's like, hey, just speak, alright? I
Well, wouldn't
speak
say-
in this weird tone for you. Is this so good?
I wouldn't
Speak
call
it
it
as
that.
a Mario, brother.
Eh. Mr. Italian plumber over here. Where's my spaghetti? But anyways.
Where's my spaghetti?
Anyway. But yeah, no. Like I said, sometimes you struggle when it comes to Japanese, when it comes to anime dubs with, like I said, cheesy voice acting. Only very good productions do not have that issue because they actually do get very good sub and dub actors. This one is one of them. So, like I said, if you want to just watch it in English without the, you know, need for subtitle translations as just a regular animated show, you can do that, and it is very good. I saw the entire thing myself first time in dub, and I was very impressed. And I'm a massive anime watcher, so trust me, I've seen cheesy dubs. Though in fairness, I have quite a high tolerance, but that's beside the point. I actually almost find it funny at times when that happens. But anyways. So yeah, the massive anime adaptation success resulted in Cyberpunk receiving a massive boom in sales. Now again, this kind of feeds back into the idea that you're thinking, well, it's been 3 weeks and yet it's still so successful. If it were just a temporary boon from the game, or the show, why is it still trending? Well,
Simple.
Well, yeah, simple, because, well, maybe not so simple, but it's fairly easy to explain. The game's come a very long way since launch. Most people have written it off, like, essentially the moment it launched and people realized it was, you know, a broken, buggy mess. Which, trust me, if that was the response that some studios got when it came to broken, buggy messes, Ubisoft would never sell another video game.
Yeah, there'd be a few
See,
studios. Yeah, there'd be a few studios where it's like, ah, I'm just gonna close now.
Yeah, Bethesda would go out of business.
Like, I'm just gonna go walk out the door. Bye.
But yeah, no, in the case of Bethesda, they've managed to reclassify bugs as features and features as bugs.
It just works.
It just, that's what they're gonna have to put on the tombstone of Todd Howard when they finally bury him.
I'm just
It
saying,
just
they kind of have to. They kind of have to. He literally
Honest-
said that, and then like literally months later, oh yeah, it totally just works.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Fallout philosophy, it just works.
I mean, technically,
But-
that is the Fallout philosophy. You just take
Is that the
gun,
Fallout or the
gunner.
Skyrim
You
philosophy?
literally just take a gun or a weapon and just say, yep, no, it just works, and just detonate everything in the room.
I find that funny considering I've recently gotten way back into playing the Elder Scrolls Online, like, a lot more seriously recently, so I find that funny that I say that. But anyways. Which is also a Bethesda game, but anyways. So. The truth is, like I said, the game's come a very long way. It is now officially in 1.6 update, and like I said, these updates are, like, between 1.5 and 1.6. 1.5 and 1.6 are both very sizable updates. Yeah, there are still a few minor problems here and there, but most of the bugs have been ironed out, And a lot of things have been added to the game. Like I said, you got transmog, you've got more housing options when it comes to characters, you've got additional weapon options, you've got more side quests they've added in. And they've also released the trailer, like I said, for Liberty, which, or Liberty something. I think it's either Liberty or Liberty, something else. I can't
It's not
remember the
Liberty
name.
Prime, I believe.
Liberty Prime, thank you. Liberty Prime, like I said,
Well,
which is
no,
their first game.
is it actually Liberty Prime or?
We'll go with Liberty Prime. I think it is.
Okay, because I said that as a Fallout joke.
Well, here, let me just check. It would feel like a naming convention, but hold on. Let me just check for the sake of our viewers,
Yeah.
so I know we don't misquote.
I literally just said Fallout Liberty Prime, as in
That's the thing. I went with
Liberty
it because
Prime, America.
Well, that's the thing. I went with it because it does sound like a name that for an expansion that would happen.
Yeah. No.
Hold up. Let me just see. Phantom Liberty. That's it.
Ah, so literally like one word off.
More or less, but we already knew it was Liberty, so not giving you that. But points for a good name mock-up, though. But anyways. But yeah, like I said, the game's come a long way. The game's a lot better. I think, like I said, the story for the game the main story for the game, outside of like the bugs and everything, has always been good, even when it was a buggy mess. So I think we're just seeing the resurgence now, and a continued resurgence, because people are actually officially willing to try the game. I know that there were a lot of people who are either waiting for the PS5 updates, and then those came out, and then they were waiting for the first DLC, and now those are planning to come out, and people are like I even saw a video from Paul Tassi, who is a reporter for Forbes, used to work for Kotaku, and he actually does a lot of Destiny stuff, so you might hear his name quoted a few times on this show in the past, but he actually did a video a while back when the anime first came out, and the question of is it time for Cyberpunk now? The kind of question everyone's been asking. Is it time for me to finally pick up Cyberpunk? Because like I said, there are a lot of people who either canceled their pre-orders or just decided to hold off on buying it until the game got in a better state. And at this point, I think a lot of people are saying, yep, now is the time to do just that. And that's why we're seeing these sales and continues, because people are realizing not only is it a good time to start buying, but the game is actually very good, especially in its current state. With 1.6 introducing the Edge Runners update, which added a few more story stuff, as well as crossover in terms of both. There are some side missions you can get that are literally kind of epilogues to the actual anime. You can actually get weapons and iconic clothing, which is equipment from that actually is seen in the show, in the game itself, through some locations. There are some show Easter eggs you can find, a bunch of things that kind of ties the fabric of the game and the show together, because funny enough, canonically speaking, the game and the show take place at the exact same time and place. The characters just never cross paths, generally speaking. But if you look in, like, for example, I think the show, there are some like kind of hints to the events of the game and vice versa. And like I said, there's literally an entire story quest or a side story quest in the game you can get with the newest update that is literally sees you kind of following the events of the epilogue of the anime and kind of actually meeting the only surviving character of the show. But again, I'll save that for if you want to go into it. I've not actually played that mission myself, but I have seen that it does exist and stuff like that. Plus, like I said, they added a bunch of Easter eggs for the events of the show. And if you watch the show, you can actually see Easter eggs to the game itself. But anyways. But yeah, no. So like I said, between that and the show, the game has received a massive resurgence in terms of popularity. And like I said, it's recently passed the 20 million sales mark in terms of its milestones, almost 2 years later. But, it got there eventually. And has been, at least a while back, it was, I've not checked recently, but it was 2077 had become Steam's top-selling game. Here, let me just check on my Steam account right now. Let's just see what's sitting up on the top sellers nowadays, shall we? Hold on, I just log into Steam. I did not actually have it logged in when we started the show, so I have to quick log in. There we are. Update for Destiny. Do that later, I guess.
Yes.
Here we are now. Top sellers. Ra-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Top sellers. Okay, it's not on top sellers anymore, but it is still within the top rankings of the top 10. It is still at number 9 in terms of actual top sellers. So it is still in the top 10 of sellers. It fell by a few, but it is still within the top 10. It is literally number 9, right in front of Fallout 4 of all things, interestingly enough.
Yes.
So there you go. It's still within the top 10 of the best sellers of Steam. So what did that tell you?
He's doing something right.
He's doing something right.
If the game still has people playing it, clearly something is being done correctly.
Fallout 76, look on in envy. Anthem, look on from your afterlife, ethereal afterlife plane with envy.
Yes.
But anyways, I wish Anthem succeeded. That was a fun game conceptual-wise. I played that game.
Yeah, it did look entertaining.
It was. The story wasn't actually that bad. It's fun to play, too. But anyways. It had the Destiny issue. Where it was like, it was a fun gameplay concept that just, was not built upon enough at launch. But unlike what Bungie and Activision did with Destiny, they didn't stick with it for the long haul and built up the game. They, being that it was developed by EA, looked at the game, saw it was trash, kicked it out the door, and said, well, bring us the next Battlefield.
Next game, please.
Bring us our next glorified slot machine in the way of FIFA. But anyways. But I honestly think that if it had been developed by a more long-term developer, like, for example, Bungie, or in this case, CD Projekt Red, who both stuck by their not successful games at launch for the long haul, well, look what happened. Destiny is now one of the primary topics we talk about in this show, and is closely approaching the 10 years that it had promised for its original 10-year plan of the game.
Yeah, it's almost at the final season before our Lightfall, so...
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And Cyberpunk had a massive resurgence almost 2 years later, and like I said, got to the top of Steam's top seller list, and is still within the top 10 of those rankings as of the recording of this video, sitting at a solid number 9.
Yep.
So, it is proof that if you stick with your product for the long haul, even if it doesn't sell at first, it's not saying it can't still be popular one day. Now, am I suggesting people release half-broken games? Absolutely not. I am not condoning such practices.
Do not do this. Do not.
Seriously, don't do it. Nobody wants a half-broken game on release. I especially. But if it does happen, this is proof that it can be redeemed with time, with patience, and with effort. 3 things EA is not known for having. Just copious amounts of blood money from their FIFA. Well, technically Ultimate Team within FIFA, but that's beside the point. I'm getting on a tangent here, so I'm just going to get on my soapbox before we get there, because there's still an entire other subtopic to discuss, and we haven't even discussed it yet. It's already been, 40 minutes? Jesus Christ. So, moving on.
Yes.
On the other topic, like I said, CDPR, actually, like I said only 12 years ago, took advantage of the good popularity of Cyberpunk and its redemption arc to release big news surrounding the future of their company. This, again, video link in the description, as well as the article that mentions Steam top sellers and everything else we've referenced today.
Yes.
So, the only thing other I could do is give you a link straight to the anime, but whatever. There's also the launch for.
There's a few problems with that. One, you do require a Netflix account.
Pre-purchase.
And 2, if you did get the exact thing, it would kind of be considered piracy.
Hey, here's the entire show. Now I'm gonna go turn myself in. But anyways, yeah, no. Also, the Xbox trailer for Edge Runners 1.6 is down there. I would recommend just watching that trailer in general. It's actually a really cool animation crossover trailer. But anyways, I digress. So anyways, like I said, also a roundup video if you don't want to go through the whole kind of lengthy PR jargon that was the actual update for the long-term project of CD Projekt Red. There's also a guy who does an update video, name of Juicehead, who does a really good video that's basically a comprehensive wrap-up of what's happening in that reveal. I'll also link to that in the down description, and shout out to Juicehead for providing that. So, he's not the only one who provided it. There are other people who've done videos. I just decided to use his because that's the one I kind of referenced myself. So,
Yes.
PR, in their massive update to the company, revealed a ton of plans for the future of their company, what they're going to do, plans, stuff like that. We've already kind of covered some of that in that they revealed that they were going to make a Cyberpunk 2077 sequel. So clearly the game, or at the very least its most recent success, has warranted them to say, you know what, this is something we can stick behind for the long run and, make a sequel to. Now, that's called Project Orion, and there's no real confirmed release date of when we'll see that, but again, this is plans for like the next 6+ years, so Though they have confirmed the Witcher series is the top of their priorities list in terms of what they plan to do first, so don't expect to see a Cyberpunk sequel before a Witcher sequel. Well, continuation. I struggle to say the word sequel, but we'll get to that. Anyways, the projects go like this. Basically, they said that they have a massive goal to basically release 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games within the next, 6, 7 years. Now you're probably thinking, wait, what? One studio doing all that? That's like EA numbers, and those are usually never high quality. And you'd be right, that is cause for concern. But there is also massive studio expansion we're looking at here, and trust me, by the way I'm going to explain how they're breaking all of this down is going to make sense, trust me. I was concerned too, but, I can actually see this working. So basically how it's going to work like this. The first of the kind of games they're making, I believe, is going to be, actually I don't remember, hold on. I don't remember which of these games that they're planning to make first, because like I said, there's a ton of them. But the Witcher series is coming first. Now, this is going to be done in 3 different ways. There is a game codenamed Project Sirius, created by Molasses Flood. There is the There is the new Witcher trilogy. Not sure what they're going to do there, but that's going to be developed by CDPR in-house. And then there's another project called Canis Majoris, which is basically Latin for wolf something or other, or dog something or other, if my Latin is correct. I believe Major Wolf or something like that? I don't remember. But anyways, Latin aside. And this is going to be developed by a third party who is yet to be spoken about. Now you're probably wondering, hold on, isn't Molasses Flood a different studio separate from CDPR? You're right and you're wrong. Here's how it kind of works. Molasses Flood, which, if memory serves from what I remember hearing, was actually made up of ex-Witcher developers from CDPR, was actually purchased by CDPR as a subsidiary studio. Kinda like how BioWare is a subsidiary of EA, but EA is technically also still the studio-publisher. Well, not so much as developer nowadays, but they were back in the day. But you get my point. So Sirius is going to be the one developed by Molasses Flood, and I believe that's going to come first. Then we have the Witcher trilogy. That's all going to be developed by CDPR in-house. Again, all of these projects are still only going by code names and in early development, so we have no idea how any of these are actually going to look or feel, but we do know their kind of roadmap for what they want to do. So the Witcher trilogy will be developed. And sometime between there and Canis Majoris, the third-party game, which may be mobile, maybe not, they've stressed that they're going to be very careful about protecting their brand. If you actually look at how they word things, they're very careful about how they word things. Like, they introduce multiplayer, but they introduce it in a way where they're more alluding to the idea of we're going to make a multiplayer in the way of Halo and less a multiplayer in the way of League, if you know what I mean. So more couch co-op than, or more couch co-op or,
Couch party games.
not party games, but
Well,
kind of like
that's exactly what Halo multiplayer is. At least
well,
that's what it was supposed to be. At least through literally every developer, including Halo 4.
well, you don't hear much of the word couch co-op these days because technically it's not really a thing anymore. It's more online co-op. But anyways,
Well, it is, but it can be couch co-op. But the problem with that is, you kind of have to allow your game to have that kind of feature.
well, that's beside the point.
Yeah.
But anyways, they stressed like I said, the idea that multiplayer in terms of multiple people playing a single story and not something like, Battlefield or League where it's, a massive arena style thing. So that seems to be where they're going, or at least what they were hinting at where they were going when they said multiplayer in games. And like I always say when it comes to especially the games industry, exact words matter. So, and their third-party game, Canis Majoris, they hinted that they are going to be very careful with their branding. So while this may have things like that, it may not be something like egregious monetization. So not an EA scheme here. Monetization, probably, or maybe, we don't know, but not egregiously so. They said they were going to be very protective of their brand. So obviously, exclusive monetization out the ass, not very good for the brand. So you get what I'm going at here. So yeah, we have Sirius developed by their subsidiary studio nowadays, Molasses Flood, The Witcher Trilogy, developed in-house, Canis Majoris, developed by an unnamed third party who I'm sure, have not even decided themselves yet, Phantom Liberty, which is going to be, like I said, coming out soon, I think by the end of the year, for current CD Cyberpunk, and Orion, which is going to be a sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. Plus a new IP called Hatter, which is also going to be developed by CDPR. No real news about this yet, but this is probably going to be like the way back of the chain, like on the end of that 6-7 year time frame. Now, Juicehead gives kind of a interesting theory as to how he'll think these will come out in terms of release schedule, or at least game time frame. Now, obviously, we're going to see Sirius first. That's going to be where it is, because that seems to be already in development. Then we're going to see the Witcher Trilogy. And then somewhere between the Witcher Trilogy and Canis Majoris, perhaps in the middle of that trilogy, we're going to see the next Orion. We're going to see Orion, so the next Cyberpunk. We're going to see that finish up with the Witcher Trilogy then. Or maybe it'll come after the Witcher Trilogy. Not sure. Again, these are all just kind of his off-the-top-of-the-head ideas. But I think it's agreeable. And then we're going to see Canis Majoris, the third-party game for the Witcher series, and then the new IP Hatter. Now, you're probably thinking, hold on, that's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games within 6 years. That's at least a game every year, if not more.
They're at least working on 2 games every year.
And you're right, that is a lot. But hold on, we're not done yet. They also released that they have, they also released this idea of spinning up the franchise. So this flywheel concept. Again, you'll see this in their video, and Juicehead also references it in video, where they're going to have this kind of idea that they're going to have expanded media. This seems to be a common trend in the games industry. We're seeing this a lot more. Destiny does this. Bethesda's done this for years and years. Halo's done this for years and years, where you have the game itself, and then you have content outside of the game relating to it. Books, comics, mobile games, partnership merchandise. In the case of Cyberpunk, TV or film. That's kind of what they're hoping for. They're going to have the game itself, and then they're going to have stuff tied to the game through merchandise, mobile games, yada, 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 which will feed back into the game. They're trying to basically almost systemize this. Let me say that again. They're trying to systemize the process, which kind of re-sparked Cyberpunk 2077, in that they make a game. They make content for that game outside of the game, in this case the anime. The anime does really well, which brings attention to the anime, which by proxy brings attention to the game, which vice versa to the anime, and on and on and on. A positive feedback loop we're working with here. That's what they're trying to systemize, and this seems to be their kind of plan going forward for their games. Again, truth be told, it's not a bad idea. If you can do it right, this does seem like a good idea. between partnerships in merchandise, TV and films, books and comics, mobile games, whole shebang. They want to basically cross-promote their games and these other things on the side. Which, like I said, is great from marketing angle, profits angle, and very good from a player's angle because it gives us a lot more stuff to mess with. Like I said, look at what happened with CDPR in the anime. The anime is really good, and everyone's watching it, and I recommend you should watch it, all our tier viewers. It is very good. But that is also, in a way, promotion ship for the game, because you can actually do stuff that's related to the show in the game, and vice versa. So, like I said, they're trying to kind of systemize the system. That doesn't sound right. I have to keep
Systemization.
Yeah, they're trying to make this idea that, like I said, brought back Cyberpunk, and they're trying to systemize it. Which, again, as I've said 1,000 times, is not a bad idea. And that's their plan going forward with all of their IPs, so all of their games. Which is all well and good, but like I said, you're probably sitting there going, whoa, you still haven't answered the question about that one or more games per year thing. Are we going to see an EA situation here? Yes, technically, but no. Again, this is how it's going to work. Kind of like what EA does, though admittedly much more logical. So what CDPR is planning to do is this. They're planning to open an entirely different branch of the company, the CDPR North American branch. And they're going to open up a Boston hub for their studio. This is going to be a new hub for the studio based in North America, and this is going to exist alongside their already existing Vancouver hub. One of the developers who already did CDPR, who's quite famous for the development of CDPR actually, or his work in the game, has already announced that he's moving over to the new Boston branch, or Vancouver. Well, no, I think he just said he's moving over to the new North American branch to assist with the development of the games. Now, how it's going to work like this. CDPR, the European branch, which already exists because it's based out of Poland, obviously, is going to be primarily working on the Witcher games. That's going to be their whole thing. And from what I hear, Juicehead makes a comparison that basically CDPR is doing what a lot of people think Bethesda should do with their games. Which, you might be able to speak to this, Justin. You know a lot more about what people want Bethesda to do more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially what they're doing is this. They're going to take their original European hub and they're going to devote that entirely to the development of the Witcher games. Between the third parties and the trilogy and whatnot, that's all going to be them. That's all going to be what they do. That's entirely what they do, just Witcher. At least for now. By contrast, the North American branch, alongside the new Boston hub, which comprises both the Vancouver and Boston hubs, they are going to be working entirely and exclusively on the Cyberpunk stuff. So they've confirmed that Cyberpunk is going to be a long-term IP franchise for them.
Sorry,
I think I just gave Justin a brain orgasm.
No, oh god. I'm playing Borderlands, and there's an Easter egg right now with walking sentient brooms. And if anyone knows Disney...
Yeah, I'm getting freaking Fantasia flashbacks here.
But no, if anyone knows that one Disney animation with Mickey Mouse and the brooms...
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on here.
Sorcerer's Apprentice. Man, that is a famous piece.
Oh god, I honestly like.
I just need the song playing in the background.
No, I literally do. It's beautiful. I honestly wasn't expecting this.
I don't even know that Easter egg. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's literally it's during the DLC, the fantasy DLC. You go and help Claptrap during the Dwarven Mines, and eventually he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna summon a demon," and then he summons walking brooms, and now they're burning walking brooms, and now they're giant burning walking brooms.
Great job, buddy.
You are totally helping me out here, bud. It's a good thing I'm equipped for this.
Well, I'm clearly officially convinced that everything I've said has gone over our audience heads because you're distracting them with that madness.
Yeah, well, gameplay is gameplay, is it not?
Yeah, fair enough. You can't say that the gameplay we provide you guys isn't amusing, but yeah. So North American branch will be entirely devoted to um, the Cyberpunk 2077 stuff. Funny enough, though, the Boston hub is actually opening up right next to the studio that is actually doing the serious stuff, the Molasses Flood studio. That's kind of funny because, like I said, they were not going to be devoted to Cyberpunk 2077, or they weren't going to be devoted to Witcher. They were going to be devoted to Cyberpunk 2077 in the North American hub, despite the fact the Boston hub is literally right, like legitimately right next door to the Molasses Flood studio, which is developing for The Witcher. But like I said, technically they're not the same studio, they're just a subsidiary, so But like I said, that's kind of the whole shtick of the thing. The European branch will be entirely focused on The Witcher for the future, and the North American branch will be entirely focused on CDPR and that stuff for the future going forward. And they have confirmed, like I said, CDPR, or they have confirmed Cyberpunk is going to be a long-term goal for them. They're going to keep going with this franchise. Makes sense considering, like I said, the recent resurgence, and there's always been an interest in the series, so it makes sense that they're keeping going. So yeah, that's kind of how they're going to break down how they're going to do all of this crazy stuff going forward. And apparently, like Juicehead points out in his video, apparently people have wanted Bethesda to do that for years, where they just have an entire subsidiary of their company devoted to the franchise of that game. Like an entire, like, I don't know, South American branch devoted to the Elder Scrolls series. And then you have like a North American branch devoted entirely to the Fallout series. And it makes sense in a way, because this kind of development method allows not only the studios to communicate with each other because they're within the same kind of territory, again, North America and Europe, respectively, but this also means that each of them are going to be entirely focused on what they're doing, and they're not going to have to worry about what other, other studios are doing without their sphere. So if when the new Cyberpunk game Orion comes out, the North American studios are going to have that, and that's just going to be what they do until that comes out. That's entirely their thing. Whereas the European studios are freed up to do something
Multiple
else.
things at once.
Yeah. So it's a clever concept of multitasking by essentially subdividing your company and basically assigning tasks. So it's a clever concept, and I can clearly see how this would work.
Where have I seen that before?
Where have you seen it before? What are you thinking right now?
Where have I seen that before?
It's a much better system than what EA does, where in the case of like the Fallout, not Fallout, why did I get the Fallout series? In the case of the Call of Duty series, where what EA does with the Call of Duty series is they essentially hot swap the license around every year. And basically, all of their studios are constantly developing a new version of Cyberpunk, or my god, my brain is slowly dying, where they're each developing a new version of Call of Duty, and they're just kind of hot swapping the license around every year. It's just a ring around the license, essentially. Like, so essentially, one studio will do something, and considering there's 3 of them, the next studio will do it while the last studio is still working. The next one will do it while the last 2 are working, and then by the time it hot swaps around back to the first studio, they'll have at least had 2 years to develop a new Call of Duty. That's kind of what EA does with the Call of Duty license, which I'm not sure is the wisest idea, because it has led to some kind of like studio infighting and things about who has the license and who doesn't, and da 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 da. This concept of just like basically saying North America, you're the Cyberpunk division, Europe, you're the Witcher division, makes it a whole lot simpler if you ask me.
Just a bit.
But yeah, and like I said, we've already talked about their push for multiplayer in their games. Again, in their own words, most of our new games to enrich the single player experience. They're very careful about their wording, and like I said, in this industry, exact words matter.
Do not misspeak.
Not honestly very true. They are very much alluding to the idea that they want the multiplayer to boost and make more popular the single player experience. They do not want an entire like multiplayer version of a game. They don't want to make the next Fortnite. That's not what they're saying when they say this. They're saying they want to make something akin to Halo, where the multiplayer, or at least older versions of Halo, I suppose you could say.
Well, I mean, it depends on what they're trying to go. Like I said, if they're trying to go for a party experience, then that would definitely fall within the older Halo. But if
Yeah,
they're
hard
going
more
they're going for like, oh, somewhat competitive whatever type thing, then yeah.
and more of a drop. Like I would think more of a drop-in co-op system. Where you have your single-player story, but kind of like in the world of in your case, Borderlands. The newest
Mm,
Borderlands, you can have someone drop in to do co-op with you,
yeah.
but it's still within the single-player narrative. My guess is that's what they're going for. Like everyone's guess is with the way they're wording it, that's exactly what they're going at. They want to have single player as the focal point, but they're going to have multiplayer on the side to enrich the single player experience. Well, single player is still going to be their main forte, what they mainly focus on. Like I said, by the way they're saying it, they're very careful about it. They're very much alluding to the idea that they do not want to become the next Fortnite. That is not what they're playing, and they're not what they're playing at when they say they want to include multiplayer. That is not what they're going at. Now,
So
could
don't
something like
expect
that
it.
not happen in the future? Not saying it's impossible, but that clearly doesn't seem to be what they're primarily focusing on. If anything, that would be more of an experiment. But yeah, that's the wrap up of CDPR news. Like I said, we haven't really mentioned the new IP Hatter, but that's because there's not really much to go on. All we know is that it's a new IP that they have no idea, probably because they themselves don't even know what they're going to do yet. Most definitely.
Hmm.
And it's going to be out sometime within the next, 6-7 years. My guess is going to be way at the end of those 7 years once everything else is done. But like I said, first expect to see the next Witcher, the Molasses Flood game, the serious game. Expect to see that first. That is the next thing off their assembly line. Then we're moving into the trilogy for the Witcher series, and that will be entirely made by them in-house. And then either near the end of that trilogy or in the middle of that trilogy, expect a new Cyberpunk 2077 game as well, considering, like I said, remember, Europe is going to be entirely focused on Witcher, while North America, those two studios, will be entirely developed on Cyberpunk. So you've got 3 in Europe and 2 in North America, at least technically speaking. Molasses Flood is technically a subsidiary in North America, literally right beside the New Boston office, but they're developing for The Witcher, and they're technically a subsidiary, so it's a bit of a gray area. But you get the point. Through this system, they're going to be able to develop a lot faster and a lot more frequently, because, like I said, there's subdivision going on here. You're not going to have multiple studios worrying on who's working on what and who holds the license and da 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 da. It's just you do this, you do that, do it. And that is why the new Cyberpunk game will have a lot of time to develop, even while they're working on the Witcher games, because that'll be a whole other subsect of the company doing that in these 2 new studios. Well, technically 1 new studio. The Vancouver office already exists in North America. And, of course, the Canis Majoris game, developed by an unknown third party who we do not know. Most likely mobile, because, like I said, that is part of their kind of spin wheel of extended content. But they were, like I said, very careful to say that they plan to protect their brand when it comes to this, so don't expect egregious monetization, because I do not see how egregious monetization would look good on a branding perspective. Just ask someone like EA or Activision how that looks on a branding. No, better yet. No, ask Activision how that looks on a branding experience when it comes to egregious monetization. I'm sure their Diablo license isn't as lucrative as it once was about 5-6 months ago. Especially after the events of Diablo Immortal, but that's beside the point. So yeah, a longer video than general. I hope this doesn't become a trend, but I didn't think there would be enough to just have the Cyberpunk 2077 news for their, resurgence. Plus, like I said, that is kind of old, so I thought I'd balance it out with something extremely cutting edge and extremely new. So yeah, yes. What do you guys think? What do you think, Justin? What do you think? You're the only one I can actually get any immediate feedback from.
Immediate feedback. Go. Yes. Game. Development.
Points to game. Game.
No, clearly Projekt Red is gonna be pushing out and trying to do their best to get a whole bunch of games out for people. So hopefully for them that actually goes well and they're able to go and get out a bunch of enjoyable content to go and mediate to their audience and you know,
Mm-hmm.
enjoyable experiences and whatnot.
Very much so. Technically, the long-term plans still have Phantom Liberty on there still, because technically that hasn't come out, though it's going to come out, I believe, by the end of the year. So I did include that in our descriptions of the long-term plans, because like I said, that's not really a long-term plan. But anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the system is far more logical than I would think some studios, like I said, Activision, do with the Call of Duty franchise. Wait, did I give credit to EA for the Call of Duty franchise all this time? When I was mentioning the Call of Duty franchise, did I mention EA or Activision?
I think you mentioned EA.
Oh my goodness, that is a terrible misclick. For some reason, my brain went EA. EA does FIFA, not Call of Duty. Sorry guys, I'm not an idiot. I know what I'm talking about.
I am smart.
But yeah, no, it's far better than. Well, that only adds to the idea that Activision has no idea what they're doing. Between the mess that is Diablo Immortal and this madness with, like I said, the hot swapping of the Call of Duty license, you know, it's far better than what they're doing. But yeah, no, like I said, they're going to be very busy for the next 6-7 years. I wonder what that new Witcher trilogy would be like. If it's like the Cyberpunk game where we actually get to have the ability to create our own Witcher instead of like being in the way of Geralt, because they have said that Geralt's story is over as of like The Witcher 3, which was the whole point of that massive send-off in The Witcher 3. Then I would actually like to see that. And I don't think they said that the next games would be revolving around Ciri exclusively. So the trilogy would be kind of interesting if we could like create our own Witcher, and you know, we can kind of carry them almost like the Mass Effect style, where you could create your own Witcher in the first game of the trilogy and carry them through the story. Like there are some ways where you can actually, I think, in the Witcher games carry over progress from one of them. No, actually, no, that's not true. That is not true. But it would be, but that is a thing in the old BioWare Mass Effect game. So that would be really interesting if you could create a Witcher in the first like game of the trilogy, make decisions, and then carry them over from one game to the next, and then it ends in the third. That would be really cool. CDPR, you can have that idea for free. You ever listen to this? You ever do this, you can have that idea for free. But anyways, I think we'll call it there, yeah. Turns out there was enough news for me to talk about just that in terms of the CDPR in terms of the Cyberpunk resurgence. But like I said, it's a kind of bit on the old news side, so I thought we'd sprinkle in, well, maybe not sprinkle, pour in a massive deluge, I like using that word, of news with the plans CDPR has in the future as a subtopic, maybe side topic, maybe co-topic. Again, audience, you decide. Up to personal interpretation. But yeah. Bunch of news, bunch of things. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the shtick at this point. I'm sure you've been on YouTube at this point. You know how it is. We're a fledgling channel, and I could really use the support. I know Justin and I would really enjoy it.
Yes.
Sorry, I cut you off there. I just kind of talked.
Nah, you didn't really cut me off. They're just sitting here playing video game.
But yeah, you know how it works. Like I said, sub to the channel. We would really appreciate it. I know Justin does a lot of good work over on the editing side. I try my best to bring you guys the best content and news to talk about week after week. So, you know, some love for your boys would be most appreciated. Let's see if we can get to 20 subscribers.
20? Do it. Just subscribe already. Hit the bell.
But anyway. Hit the bell! But anyways, I'll be on my way because I'm already being... Well, never mind. I'm already being a little late for another thing I have to do, so I'll call it here. But
yeah.
And as always, though, thanks for watching, and good night. Bye-bye from Night City!